How's it going, everyone? This is the George here, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Creator. This is the newest science fiction film to come out this year, directed by Gareth Edwards, starring John David Washington, Gemma Chan, and Ken Watanabe. And in this film, we see humanity going to war with AI, or at least the United States going to war with AI after AI was blamed for causing a nuclear attack on Los Angeles. So this takes place in an alternate future, and John David Washington's character, Joshua Taylor, where has lost family due to this AI problem, due to the AI war, and he is sent back to New Asia, which is protecting AI, to retrieve a weapon. But he realizes that this weapon isn't what it seems, and that the whole situation involving the AI isn't what they have been led to believe. So this movie comes out at an interesting time. It's coming out right after the writer strike is done, while the actor strike is happening. And one of the big concerns involving those strikes is obviously AI. AI with in regards to, is AI going to replace writers? Is AI going to replace actors? Um, the likeness of AI capturing the likeness of actors, putting actors out of work, specifically actors who are trying to get into the industry. So this is like happening at an interesting time where we're having all these conversations about AI. And if you've watched my streams, some of my more recent streams, you would know that I'm pretty neutral when it comes to AI. I have my criticisms for it in regards to replacing actors and writers and artists as well. That doesn't get talked enough about. But at the same time, I understand that AI can be useful in some regards, but I think AI needs some limitations because you don't want AI to replace humans, specifically when it comes to jobs. We don't want AI teaching our kids. We don't want AI writing our stuff because, as I've said, in some regards, AI does not have the emotions that humans do. However, if you and go further with AI, with those limitations, you could do some special stuff with it. I'm not saying AI is a negative. If done the right way, it can be a positive. And we kind of see in this movie the negatives, but also the positives of AI. Obviously, AI is the boogeyman in this universe because it was blamed for a nuclear attack, and they're going to war with AI. AI is killing these humans that are coming to New Asia to stop them. But as the film progresses, we start to realize that things aren't what they seem, especially in regards to this AI child that the character Joshua finds, who he names Alfie in this film. Now, by the way, before we continue, I'm not going into deep spoilers with this. There might be a few spoilers, but it's nothing game changing or plot changing. So I'm just warning right now that I might get into certain specifics, but I'm not going to go deep into it. So fair warning if you haven't seen this movie. But if you've seen this movie or don't care, feel free to stick around. But I'm not going into deep spoilers. So even if you didn't see this movie, please stick around. But one of the things with this movie is also the director Gareth Edwards, who directed my favorite Disney era Star Wars movie, Rogue One, a Star Wars movie. And not only is that a good movie, I think it's a great movie. The cinematography work is excellent in that movie, the special effects, the tone. And I didn't have high hopes for that movie when that movie came out, but I landed up loving it more than The Force Awakens. And I do still like The Force Awakens, but even at that time, when we were still on the high for Force Awakens, I loved Rogue One. It was a movie that I didn't expect a lot out of, but it surprised me a lot and is one of my favorite Star Wars movies. It's one of my top 5 Star Wars movies. And similar to Rogue One, the cinematography work in here is excellent. This had an $80 million budget to it. Like the budget for this movie is not as big as a lot of the budgets for these comic book movies, for some of these like franchise movies. The budget's smaller than Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I think this might be a smaller budget than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I'm not too sure. Maybe it's around that. I don't know. I gotta look into that. But they made great use, and there are some beautiful shots. The special effects work is incredible. They obviously did like on-site filming, and obviously combined that with special effects work. But they did it so well. There's this ship that's taking down. This is one of the spoilers that's taking down some of these areas that have AI called the Nomad, and Apparently, according to Gareth Edwards, he took the entirety of COVID lockdown to design this ship. It looks amazing. And what I like is just how like the setting pieces as well, because you got some areas where there's heavy technology, like it looks like a futuristic city, but then you got some poor areas, but they're still able to coexist with the AI. And the AI machines look incredible as well. The action's also really good. It's well choreographed. It looks great. And the performances are very good. I will say John David Washington did a very good job as the main character. Gemma Chen plays Maya, this girl that they fell in love with, but due to them being on opposite sides at one point and thinking something happened to her, they were separated for a while. Ken Watanabe plays one of the AIs in this movie as well. He does a very good job. But to me, the most powerful performance was probably the girl that played the AI Alfie, and that was an incredible performance. When this character is first introduced, I thought this was going to be an annoying character, similar to some little kid characters in movies. But after like the first few minutes she was on screen, she won me over. And the development of her relationship with Joshua, I think, progressed very well in the movie. At first, he's kind of using this character, but as time progresses, they grow to care for one another. So I love the development of that relationship as well. And I like what Gareth Edwards does. He's kind of splits up certain segments, kind of dedicated to certain characters. There's a segment dedicated to the character Maya. There's a segment dedicated to Alfie. Well, not segments, but scenes or parts of the movie that are dedicated, and he kind of lists them, but not by name, just on their role in the life of the main character, sure, and the AI child. And Hans Zimmer's score. Hans Zimmer, as always, knocks it out of the park with a fantastic score. It was incredible. I loved hearing it. Now, it sounds like I've been gushing a lot about this movie because I had a great time with this movie. I did like this movie a lot. Is it a perfect movie? No. There are some things that did disappoint me with this movie as much as I liked it. I will say that this movie, it feels like there's certain elements that you've seen in previous movies. I'm not going to list all of them, but one example could be the beginning of the movie. Kind of reminded me of Terminator, like the beginning of the first two Terminator movies, where you're getting a backstory of what has led to this future. Sure, like a little segment of it. Although I will say, I thought it was handled very well, and they did a very good job of setting up this conflict with AI. So I'm not going to take points off of that. But some of the other elements I'm not going to get into. You should probably watch the movie, and also if you've seen some of the various science fiction movies throughout the years, you're probably going to make those connections as well. But it's just certain things that I've seen from those sci-fi movies I've seen here. Now, it doesn't make the movie bad or the story bad, and it does have its own unique vision at times and does some things differently. But it just feels like I've seen some of this stuff before. Another example could be the antagonist. It's the typical government general characters that think AI is bad and like we got to do this for the betterment of society kind of mentality. Who cares about them, their technology kind of thing. It reminded me of the antagonist from Avatar, from the Avatar movies, James Cameron Avatar movies. So that was something. In fact, there was like one scene that almost looked like it was from a Star Wars scene. I was like, oh, this looks like it could have been in Rogue One. Another thing is, I will say that the first two acts of this movie are very good and are very well paced. The third act is where I think the movie's story and pacing suffers. I think the third act, there was some story decisions that I didn't think made a whole lot of sense. And I think just like they wrote it in to make it a convenience to delay certain stuff, to make sure certain stuff happens, and it just kind of felt sloppy at times. Another thing is the pacing in the third act. At first, it feels like it's being rushed. The beginning of the third act, it feels like we're rushing into the final battle kind of thing when we're on the big ship, and then all of a sudden, it slows down and it feels very slow. So we went from being very quick to very slow. That's just how I felt. Maybe other people feel differently, but it just felt the third act. I'm not saying the third act was terrible. It had some really good emotional stuff in there, some great action stuff, some great visuals, but it just felt like they were rushing to get there and then they were slowing stuff down. Compared to the first two acts, where I think the pacing was perfect, I thought things were going relatively well. And then we have this inconsistent pacing that's happening. But overall, despite some of the non original ideas, the things that seem very familiar, the iffy writing in the third act and the iffy pacing, I had a great time with the creator. I think it does create a conversation about AI. I think it plays into the concerns, the the real concerns we have about AI if AI goes too far. But I think it also brings up the boogeyman side of things, the theories that people have. I'm not saying that AI, that like this stuff may not happen in the future. Who really knows? We may not even be around to witness that. But it also does address the fears of AI, but it also shows that just because we have concerns and fears about AI doesn't mean that AI is 100% bad. And depending on how it's used, maybe it can be used for a lot of great stuff. But overall, I'm going to give the creator a B plus. And it's just nice to see us getting some new sci-fi content. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Star Wars. I have become a fan of Dune in the last few years after watching Dune from 2021, the Denis Villeneuve film, and reading the book. And since my later college years and early adult years, I've gone into Star Trek. So I've always enjoyed science fiction. But it's nice to see something fresh, something that's not from a franchise that maybe could begin something. I honestly have no idea if they're going to turn this into a franchise. I don't know how well this is doing in the box office so far. And I think with the way that this movie ended, I don't think it needs a sequel, personally, without spoiling. I don't think it needs a sequel. I mean, if they do make more movies in this universe, though, I'm not going to be opposed to it because for the most part, I had a great time with this movie. But yeah, overall, I'm going to give the creator a B plus. I highly recommend you check it out. There's really nothing playing in the theaters. I mean, I know there's a new Saw movie playing in theaters, a Paw Patrol movie playing in theaters. So obviously, if you got kids, yeah, take them to see Paw Patrol. If you're a fan of the Saw franchise, and I got to catch up on that, go see the new Saw movie. But if you want something original, if you want to go to the movies and just experience something new or something that's not a franchise movie, go check out The Creator. And so, what did you think of The Creator if you saw it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And do you have a lot of concerns about AI beyond AI taking the jobs away from the entertainment industry? Let me know in the comments down below. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe already if you haven't. Please share this with someone that is into sci fi movies that wants to see The Creator. And I hope to see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.